You've spent years building what feels like a close, intimate relationship with someone. You know every detail about their life, their fears, dreams, even secrets they swear they've told no one else. But one day, the truth hits you. This person, the one you thought you knew inside out, was never real. You've been catfished. Now, you're left wondering how much of your life was spent loving, worrying, or even crying over a person who never existed. Catfishing isn't just a dating horror story. It's a manipulative game where someone deceives a victim into believing there's someone entirely different, often with deeply disturbing intentions. In recent years, cases like Sweet Bobby and Fanatical, the catfishing of Tegan and Sarah, have revealed the twisted minds behind some of the most chilling catfish stories ever documented. Today, we'll delve into these cases, unravel the motives behind the perpetrators, and explore the emotional toll on the victims. One of the most haunting catfishing cases is that of Sweet Bobby. Kirat Assi, a successful radio presenter from London, thought she had met a life partner in Bobby, a cardiologist who claimed to be battling serious health issues. For over 10 years, Bobby seemed like a shoulder to lean on, a person Kirat could trust with her deepest thoughts. However, Kirat would later discover that Bobby was a figment of imagination, crafted by someone disturbingly close to her. That Kirat's initial connection with Bobby seemed innocent enough. He was attentive, understanding, and seemed to know exactly what to say, as if he could read her thoughts. Slowly, he shared details about his life, a medical career, his family, his health struggles, and even personal traumas. Kirat fell into a deep connection with Bobby, a person who seemed perfect, almost too good to be true. The truth was, Bobby wasn't real. Over a span of 10 years, Kirat's life was manipulated and controlled by someone with a twisted agenda. She would later discover that Bobby was in reality her cousin, someone she had trusted implicitly. It was a web of lies meticulously maintained over years, with fabricated details, fake social media accounts, and an overwhelming level of psychological control. Her cousin had created an entire universe of fake friends, family members, and even incidents, all designed to keep Kirat hooked and dependent. When Kirat found out the truth, it was like a second betrayal, a betrayal that shook her to her core. This person she had trusted with everything had fabricated it all. Every moment, every conversation, and every memory was an illusion. It was as if she had been manipulated by a puppeteer, controlled without her knowledge. Kirat's trust in people, her understanding of reality, and even her sense of self were deeply fractured by this revelation. The betrayal had a lasting psychological impact. The person she thought was a support turned out to be the person manipulating her, and the consequences were devastating. She struggled with feelings of isolation, embarrassment, and self-doubt. How had she not seen it? And worse, could she ever trust anyone again? The impact of this level of betrayal cannot be overstated. Kirat, like so many catfishing victims, was left to pick up the shattered pieces of her life. In another shocking case, Hulu's Fanatical. The catfishing of Tegan and Sarah reveals the catfishing of Tegan Quinn from the famous music duo Tegan and Sarah. This isn't just a story of a fan gone too far. It's a tale of obsession where an individual built an entire fake identity around Tegan to manipulate the singer's fan base. It began with subtle messages from fans claiming they'd had conversations with Tegan online. But the truth was, Tegan had no idea about these interactions. The catfisher, posing as Tegan, managed to deceive dozens of fans, manipulating them by pretending to be someone they idolized. Using Tegan's identity, this person emotionally manipulated fans, exploiting their admiration for personal gain and pushing them into situations they never expected. The unmasking of the catfisher was a difficult journey. Unlike Kirat, Tegan had a public platform, which added another layer of complexity when she tried to expose this person. As more fans came forward with stories of being deceived by Tegan, the full extent of the catfisher's web of lies became clear. This wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a massive betrayal of trust that shook the fandom to its core. Catfishing in a fan community brings a different kind of trauma. For Tegan and her fans, the betrayal wasn't just personal but public, affecting not only Tegan's relationship with her fans but also the fans' relationship with each other. The manipulation created rifts, suspicion, and a painful awareness that not everyone online is who they claim to be. What motivates someone to sustain such a massive lie? One that requires daily upkeep, fabricated social interactions, and at times, an entire fake life? Psychologists suggest several motivations behind catfishing, each more disturbing than the last for some. It's about a need for power and control. Some people, like Kirat's cousin, seek power over another person's emotions, which provides them with a sense of dominance. By creating a person who can evoke love, sadness, or any emotional response, they feel like a puppet master. It's about controlling another's life in a way they can't control their own. Others are motivated by a need to escape reality. Creating a fantasy world is a form of escape where they can be anyone they wish, regardless of the life they're leading. It provides a break from the mundane or the unsatisfying. In these cases, the catfisher often loses track of reality themselves, believing in the world they've created as much as their victim does. Then there's loneliness and a deep fear of rejection. Many catfishers crave relationships, but believe they aren't worthy of the real, unfiltered attention of others. By crafting a more appealing persona, they think they're protecting themselves from being hurt. For victims, the consequences go beyond the immediate trauma. Being catfished leads to deep psychological scars. Trust issues are common. Victims often find themselves unable to trust others after being manipulated by someone they cared about. Realization that someone could fabricate an entire relationship shakes the foundation of trust. Feelings of shame and embarrassment also add to the emotional toll. Victims worry about how others will view them. They question themselves and feel humiliated for falling for the lies. Society doesn't always treat these victims kindly. There's a tendency to victim blame, to dismiss the pain with a "they should have known better" mindset. When catfishing cases go public, victims face added stress. They're forced to relive the trauma in the public eye, where they often feel isolated and judged, as if they're on trial for something they didn't choose. This exposure deepens the wounds, making the healing process even more complicated. The rise of social media has transformed catfishing into an accessible crime. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and even LinkedIn provide ample tools to create believable fake personas. Through these platforms, people can piece together entire lives, using stolen photos, fake interactions, and contrived stories to ensnare victims. With technology like deepfakes, the world of deception has become even more advanced. Videos, voices, and images can now be faked with shocking accuracy, further blurring the line between truth and fabrication. These tools make it increasingly difficult for victims to spot a catfish, amplifying the reach and power of those intent on deception. However, while catfishing causes severe emotional damage, prosecuting these cases presents its own challenges. Proving intent or harm is difficult, and many victims suffer in silence, feeling as if there's little they can do to hold the perpetrators accountable. But what can we learn from these cases? How can we protect ourselves in a world where almost anyone can pretend to be someone else? Start by verifying identities. Simple tools like reverse image searches can reveal if a person's photos appear elsewhere online. Another crucial step is to trust your instincts. Often, victims feel that something is off but ignore that voice. Listening to that inner feeling can make all the difference. Then there are the red flags. Refusing to meet in person, constantly making excuses for not showing their face, or inconsistencies in their stories. These are all warning signs. Catfishers tend to deflect and delay, using excuses to keep their prey hooked while avoiding exposure. In a world increasingly dependent on online interactions, catfishing will likely remain a prevalent form of manipulation. But as we've seen in cases like Sweet Bobby and Fanatical, catfishing isn't just a digital prank. It's a destructive act that can ruin lives, fracture communities, and inflict lasting psychological damage. Next time you find yourself pouring your heart out to a stranger online, ask yourself, Are they really who they say they are, or just the latest chapter in a web of lies? Catfishing is more than just a deceptive game. It's a form of psychological abuse that can upend lives and destroy people's sense of self. When someone realizes they've been manipulated, the realization that so much of their world was fabricated can be shattering. They often go through stages of disbelief, anger, self-doubt, and profound grief for a relationship that never truly existed. These betrayals can also leave lasting scars, making it challenging for victims to form new relationships or trust others. That what's particularly tragic is that many victims are left dealing with their trauma in isolation. Society can be quick to dismiss catfishing victims, blaming them for being gullible rather than acknowledging the sophisticated level of deception involved. This victim blaming can lead to a sense of shame and isolation, preventing people from speaking out or seeking help. However, publicized cases like Sweet Bobby and Fanatical help shed light on the devastating impact of catfishing and emphasize that anyone, regardless of their background, can fall prey to this manipulation. Preventing catfishing starts with awareness and skepticism when forming online connections. As mentioned, a reverse image search is a simple yet effective tool for verifying someone's identity. Platforms like TinEye or Google's reverse image search can expose profiles that use stolen images. When inconsistencies arise, listening to that internal feeling that something's off can make a critical difference. Additionally, real relationships usually involve real interactions, including video calls and in-person meetings. Insistence on maintaining only text-based communication is often a red flag. Finally, we must cultivate a cultural understanding that catfishing is not merely an embarrassing mishap, but an act of profound emotional manipulation that deserves serious attention and empathy. By openly discussing these cases and fostering an environment where victims feel supported, we can work toward a safer, more honest digital world. As you navigate the online world and forge connections, remember that in an age of unlimited access to information, the person behind the screen might not be the person they claim to be. Be cautious, verify, and most importantly, trust your instincts.